The sun hung low in the sky, casting amber hues over the quiet street as he made his way to his friend's house. It was supposed to be a simple, ordinary visit, an evening filled with laughter, stories, and the familiar warmth of friendship. But fate had a way of turning the mundane into the unexpected. As he walked past a charming old house with ivy creeping along its brick walls, something caught his attention. The front door was slightly ajar, swaying gently in the breeze. His steps faltered, curiosity tugging at his mind. It was rare to see a door left open like that, especially in this neighborhood where everything was usually locked tight and neatly kept. He hesitated, his gaze fixed on the narrow gap where the door creaked softly. Perhaps someone had forgotten to close it, or maybe they needed help. The sensible thing to do was to walk away, pretend he hadn't noticed, and continue on his path. But his feet seemed rooted to the ground, the quiet mystery drawing him in like a whisper. "Hello," he called out, his voice carrying into the stillness. No answer. Only the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds broke the silence. Unable to resist, he stepped forward, pushing the door wider until it revealed a cozy hallway bathed in warm, golden light. The air was tinged with the faint aroma of lavender and something sweet, like freshly baked cookies. It was the kind of place that felt lived in, welcoming even in its unexpected openness. He took another cautious step inside, his eyes scanning the quaint interior. Framed photographs lined the walls, their smiling faces hinting at joyful moments frozen in time. The furniture was a mismatch of styles, all arranged with a casual elegance that made the house feel genuine rather than staged. "Anyone home?" he called out again, his voice firmer this time. Still, no reply. He moved further into the house, his curiosity growing with each step. As he passed the entrance to a cozy-looking living room, he caught sight of her. She was sitting comfortably on a plush, vintage couch, a book resting open on her lap. Her hair fell in loose waves over her shoulders, and her expression was one of serene focus, as if she had been lost in another world until his presence disrupted it. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, a smile tugged at her lips, surprised but not alarmed. Hi," he stammered, feeling suddenly out of place. "Sorry, your door was open, and I just wanted to make sure everything was okay." Her smile widened, amusement dancing in her eyes. "It's all right. I guess I should have been more careful about closing it." He nodded, his initial anxiety melting under her friendly demeanor. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just thought, well, that maybe someone needed help." "I appreciate the concern," she replied, her tone light but genuine. "But I'm fine. Just a little too engrossed in my book, I guess." He chuckled, his nerves easing. "Good to know. I'm glad you're okay. Since you're here, would you like to stay for a bit? I could use the company." The invitation hung in the air, surprising yet strangely welcome. And before he could talk himself out of it, he found himself nodding as he settled into a chair opposite her, his unease melting away beneath her warm smile. The room felt cozy, almost enchanting, with soft amber light filtering through curtains that swayed gently with the breeze. Everything about the place felt comforting, inviting. And something about her presence put him at ease. "I'm Nathan, by the way," he introduced himself, his voice steadier now. "Lena," she replied, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "Nice to meet you, Nathan. And thanks for checking in on me. I guess not many people would have bothered." He shrugged, a slight grin forming. "Guess I'm just naturally curious. Or maybe I've read too many mystery novels." She laughed, a melodic sound that filled the room with warmth. "Nothing wrong with a bit of curiosity. It's what makes life interesting." They fell into easy conversation, words flowing freely between them as if they had known each other for years. He told her about his walk to his friend's place, how the open door had piqued his interest. She explained that she had been so wrapped up in her book she hadn't even noticed. "What were you reading, anyway?" he asked, nodding toward the worn paperback still resting on her lap. "Oh, just some old fantasy novel I've read a dozen times. I guess it's my comfort read," she admitted, her cheeks flushing slightly. "Escapism, you know." "Yeah, I get that," Nathan replied, his expression turning thoughtful. "Sometimes you just need to dive into another world for a while." Their conversation drifted from books to hobbies, from places they'd visited to dreams left unfulfilled. The more they spoke, the more he found himself captivated by her openness, her easy laughter, her thoughtful replies. There was something magnetic about Lena, something genuine and unguarded. Her words carried an honesty he rarely encountered, and it made him want to keep talking, to keep discovering the small details that made her who she was. "Do you live here alone?" he asked, the question slipping out before he could stop himself. "Yes," she replied, her tone carrying a hint of sadness. "Moved here a few months ago. It's been quiet." "Quiet can be good," he offered, his voice gentle. "But sometimes, it's just lonely." Her gaze softened, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through her composed demeanor. "Yeah, I guess that's true." The silence that followed was not uncomfortable, but rather a shared understanding. They were both searching for something, connection, meaning, or perhaps just a moment of solace in an otherwise indifferent world. "Well," Lena said, her smile returning, "since you're already here, would you like to stay for a while? Maybe have a coffee? Or tea, if you prefer." Nathan nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the room's cozy ambience. "I'd like that." Lena busied herself in the kitchen, her movements quick and graceful as she prepared 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Nathan watched from his seat, surprised by how natural everything felt. The awkwardness of their initial meeting had melted away, leaving something warmer, something unspoken yet deeply comforting. "Here you go," Lena said, handing him a mug before settling down beside him on the sofa. Her leg brushed against his, a small, unintentional touch that made his pulse quicken. "Thanks," he replied, cradling the mug between his hands. "This place really is cozy. It feels like, I don't know, a little world of its own." "That's exactly what I was trying to create," Lena said with a wistful smile. "Somewhere that feels safe, separate from all the noise outside." Nathan nodded, understanding more than she probably realized. He had spent so much of his own time trying to find peace, to carve out some small corner of existence where he didn't feel like an outsider. And somehow, being here, with her, felt like he had stumbled upon that place. Their conversation continued, punctuated by laughter and shared stories that seemed to bridge the gap between them. They talked about their childhoods, their dreams, the mistakes they wished they could forget. Nathan found himself opening up more than he ever had before, his words spilling out with surprising ease. Lena listened intently, her gaze never wavering, her expressions genuine and encouraging. There was a kindness about her, something that went beyond mere politeness. She made him feel seen, understood. "You know," Nathan admitted, his voice lowering as he stared into his coffee, "I didn't expect today to turn out like this. Just walking into someone's house and suddenly finding myself having coffee and talking like we've known each other forever." "Life has a funny way of surprising you," Lena said softly. "Sometimes, the most unexpected encounters are the ones that matter the most." Their eyes met, the quiet intensity between them growing. It was as if the air itself had thickened, charged with something neither of them dared to name. Lena reached out and placed her hand over his. Her touch was warm, steady, sending a gentle thrill through him. "I'm glad you walked in, Nathan. I've been alone in this house for so long, trying to convince myself that I don't need anyone. But maybe we both needed this." Nathan swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. "Yeah, maybe we did." The silence that followed was heavy, but not uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that allowed emotions to surface without the need for words. "Would you like to stay a little longer?" Lena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Nathan replied, the answer coming so naturally it surprised even him. "I'd like that." The hours slipped away unnoticed, conversation melting into moments of quiet connection. Lena's laughter became a familiar comfort, her smile a gentle reassurance that made the world beyond her door feel distant and unimportant. Nathan found himself captivated by her presence, drawn to the way she seemed to effortlessly fill the emptiness that had lingered inside him for so long. They sat together on the couch, shoulders touching, the room bathed in the soft glow of the afternoon sun. It felt surreal, like a dream that could shatter with the slightest wrong move. Yet, neither of them seemed willing to let the moment end. "I haven't felt this at ease in I don't even know how long," Nathan admitted, his voice low but steady. "Being here, talking with you. It's like I can finally breathe." Lena looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "I know what you mean. It's hard to find something real in a world that's always rushing by. And sometimes, when you finally find it, it feels almost too good to be true." Nathan's chest tightened at her words, an unspoken fear creeping into his mind. "Are you saying this isn't real?" She hesitated, her gaze dropping to her hands as she fidgeted with the fraying edge of a pillow. "No, that's not what I mean. It's real. It's complicated." "What's complicated?" he asked, his heart thudding painfully against his ribs. Lena sighed, the sound filled with a weariness he hadn't noticed before. I've been hiding away in this house, trying to sort out my life, trying to figure out who I am and what I want. Letting someone in, it's not something I do lightly. Nathan nodded slowly, his fingers gripping the mug he'd nearly forgotten about. I understand. But I'm here, Lena. Whatever it is you're going through, you don't have to face it alone. Her eyes met his, a glimmer of hope sparking within their depths. You really mean that? I wouldn't say it if I didn't. The vulnerability in her expression was like a mirror reflecting his own feelings. They were both lost in different ways, both searching for something they couldn't quite define. I don't know what's going to happen, Lena said softly. But I'd like to try. To see where this leads. Nathan's smile came slowly, a warmth spreading through him that he hadn't felt in years. I'd like that too. They fell into a comfortable silence, the weight of their confessions easing with each shared glance. And for the first time in a long while, Nathan felt something close to hope. Their journey had only just begun, but as they sat there, side by side, he couldn't help but believe that maybe, just maybe, they had found something worth holding on to.